Okay, after an incredibly short break of 1-2 days, we're back with another town hall tonight. It's a consequential one since it's the Democrats, and we are leading up to, in 2 days, perhaps the second most Super Tuesday of the election cycle, because we've got some big states that Sanders kind of has to win to have much of a chance going forward in the primary. I know, Jimmy, you're probably really excited because you're liking his chances as we get farther and farther into the primary.
First of all, you know me, I like a Super Tuesday.
I didn't name
I never realized how silly that sounded until just now. It's another Super Tuesday, right? I think it's like we're in a South Park movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what was your question, John, about how Mike's excited about his chances?
You've been excited as we move past, obviously, the beginning of the primary cycle on the Democratic side was stacked with a lot of southern states, a lot of states that were very...
Johnny, we all know that 72, the establishment got afraid because McGovern was a progressive and he got his ass eaten out, as Cenk would say. How does he say it? He says it in a gross way.
Tell me how it tastes.
Tell me how my ass tastes or something.
He's very focused on it.
Anyway, the whole point in 1972, McGovern won, and then he got creamed by Richard Nixon. And don't Google creamed. And anyway, and so what they did was they put in place these things called superdelegates. They decided to make and especially recently that the primaries are front loaded with southern states. So to thwart a progressive, and that's exactly what's happening. The establishment is trying to thwart a progressive, a lefty, and guess what? Hillary Clinton got beat the first time she ran for president by someone running to her left, and there's someone running to her left again. And I saw Gallup did a poll recently. This is very interesting. I think this is telling that the Democratic Party is out of touch with its electorate, because in the 2000, 39% of Democrats, 29% of Democrats considered themselves liberal. Well, now in 2015, that number goes up to 46% of Democrats consider themselves liberal.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more Democrats that are progressive, and then that number of conservative Democrats fell way down also. So it's going the other way, and they're trying to do it. It didn't work the first time they ran a centrist to get the nomination. It's not winning again. Right now it's working. People would say I'm the one who's dreaming, but America, we can't do great things, so let's not try.
Why lead? Why lead?
Why lead? Why try?
Why lead? So I do want to talk before the town hall starts. They say on CNN right now that we've got about 7 minutes, but they also just flat out lied last time, and they had another 45 minutes. So we might have time, but just in case, I want to quickly go over the results from yesterday. So on Saturday, we did have a couple of states up for grabs on the Democratic and the Republican side. We had Guam, where the Republicans had their first, I believe it's the first primary that Guam has had. I could be wrong there. Ted Cruz got a single delegate. The majority of the delegates there, though, 6 additional ones. We won't know who's going to get those for another couple of weeks. We have Clinton winning in the Northern Mariana Islands. That is the first ever Democratic caucus there. 102 total votes to 65 votes. She beat Sanders. And so she got 4 delegates. I'm assuming that means it's winner take all, because those votes are actually kind of close for her to get all 4 of them.
Now, is that the Dan Marino Islands?
I think it's on the opposite side, actually.
Dan Mariano? What is it? He was the Dolphins quarterback, correct?
I would love to see video of those caucuses.
Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing.
I asked
people in the middle of the Pacific,
Yeah.
like Sanders or Clinton.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear the argument.
I asked Irina to send me to the Dan Marino Islands. She said no.
She didn't. It's expensive. And but you could have swung the election by yourself there.
Yeah.
We also had Wyoming. That was important on the Republican side. Ted Cruz.
Wyoming.
So far,
you know how many people live in Wyoming? More people, and this is true. You can look this up. More people live at my house than live in Wyoming. Look it up.
Yeah. Well, they don't have a lot of delegates. So far, Ted Cruz has gotten 3. He got nearly 60% of the vote. There's going to be 12 additional delegates, 14 at a state convention in April, 3 chosen by party leaders. So Wyoming has a very complicated
way of. You know who lives in Wyoming? Who? Dick Cheney. You know why he lives there? Because it's torture to live in Wyoming. I don't know if you've ever, but come on, Sunday.
So that is
Sunday rhymes with fun day.
That's true. I saw that. Is it super? And so that allows Ted to say that he's now won another state, bringing him a little bit closer in total states that he's won against Donald Trump, if not in delegates there. Although, as of I believe yesterday, Ted Cruz is only down like 90 delegates. And now we get into this area
Really?
of these winner-take-all, where I think 65% of the remaining delegates are awarded in states that are winner-take-all.
Really?
And so Tuesday
Oh,
on
you know
the
what?
Republican
That's the
side,
beauty. Because if I can interrupt for a second, Ted Cruz does better in the proportional states, but Donald Trump does way better in the states that are racist take all. So
That's true. That's true. So Tuesday could be really important. Ben sent, I don't know if you guys got it, but he was sending out this article showing the way that the math is breaking down. And right now, it looks like Kasich could beat Trump in Ohio, but Rubio is trailing pretty badly in Florida. And if Trump does well enough, then that could be that. And future elections, they won't even be able to be influenced by the fact that someone might be murdered at one of his rallies next week.
I think Kasich is going to win Ohio.
In Ohio.
And
it's pretty big.
I think Trump's going to crush in Florida.
Yeah. Why Florida? I mean, Florida has a history of
Florida, have you seen? Of course
unorthodox
they're going to elect a
behavior,
dick. Look how it's shaped.
It's true. That's true.
Come on.
So that's basically what happened on Saturday. It doesn't really change anything. It allows Ted Cruz to say he's got one more state. Hillary Clinton can now say that she's got 14 to Sanders 9, but it was an incredibly small state. I mean, it makes Vermont
What's
look
going
like
on
Ohio.
with in Ohio where they're trying to take away I got an email from Bernie today saying that they're trying to take away a district he won or something in Iowa.
I believe that's in Iowa.
Yeah,
I think.
did you hear about
so
this?
I saw that they were doing some sort of certification vote or something like that,
Correct.
and they kept doing the vote, and then they kept redoing the vote. And people believe that they were doing that so that eventually the younger
People would
supporters
leave.
would leave, although it seems like the later it gets in the night, the younger ones would be the ones that would last the longest, I would imagine. And so I don't know if there's been resolution on that yet,
Okay.
but it is shady business. And
Shady
yeah.
business. I got that on Cinemax.
Yeah. So anyway, as we go into this town hall, knowing that we do have a town hall tomorrow, this is the two big attempts, or two big chances that Hillary and Bernie have to influence the massive number of delegates that are going to be up on the 15th. I know that you like Bernie's chances going forward, but
do I?
this is a very important day. A lot of delegates awarded. So if you were in control of Bernie's side, of Hillary's side, what do you think they should do? The last debate was pretty tumultuous.
Here's what I would do if I was Bernie Sanders. There's a film called Wall Street, starring Michael Douglas, right? And he got throat cancer in an interesting way. But the point of this story is that he was the star of a movie called Wall Street, and his character's name was Gordon Gekko, right? Gekko with 2 Ks. And that was based on a guy named Ashton Edelman. Ashton Edelman on CNBC just the other day, and there's 5 corporate tools sitting around, and they're interviewing this guy who they based the character Gordon Gekko on, Mr. Insider, Wall Street guy. Who do you support on economic basis for president? He said, oh, well, no doubt it's Bernie Sanders. And literally the one guy went like that, literally, like that. He went like that.
So why does he support him?
He said, because, well, it comes down to the velocity of money. You guys know something about that, don't you? He says to them. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know anything about that. What is that? And he says, well, it's basically, that's the term they give to for he said, in the last 30 years, he says all the money has been going to the upper 1%. And so, with the velocity of money, they don't spend that money. So you get less, I don't know what the term, but he said when you give it to workers, he said they spend 100% of the money they get. So you have more velocity. He goes, even sometimes 110% of the money, meaning I guess they overextend. So they spend all their money, so that money has more velocity, which means there's more money in the economy, which means demand. He's saying, this guy, Gordon Gekko. So if I was Bernie Sanders, I would just play that tape of Gordon Gekko, Ashton Edelman, saying that over and over. Here's Gordon Gekko saying that my economic ideas, which was FDR's economic ideas, which led to the most prosperous nation in the history of man until Ronald Reagan turned it around, says that my plan is better. And so this isn't a pie in the sky dream. This is real hard economics.
Yeah. I like the reason that he's supporting him, but I don't know that I would want to tout that he was supporting me if I was the candidate that was anti-Wall Street and all that. It sounds like that guy would be in favor of whoever would be best for.
Oh, you're saying it could boomerang.
It might. I
Backfire.
haven't seen them. So I had heard about that a couple of days ago. I haven't seen them touting it in any way. I totally agree. I hadn't heard about the velocity of money, but I guess it makes sense.
So
You want
that's
it to circulate.
Yes.
And that's what we've been saying. That's why we're in favor of higher minimum wage and stuff like that.
And that's-
when I say we, I mean myself, basically.
It comes down to why aren't businesses hiring even though they're making all this money? Well, they're making this money because they're outsourcing jobs, and the people in America, the workers who buy stuff don't have money. They haven't seen a raise. We know productivity has gone up 73% in the last 30 years, and workers' wages have only gone up 9%. So you tell me who's the parasite. They always say socialists are the parasite in economies, but here we are, the owner class, the workers keep producing more, meaning they're producing more wealth within the same work hour, yet they don't get to benefit out of that. So who's the parasite? Who is now using someone else's labor to get rich? Who's stealing from who? That's what I say. I have all these questions over at my website.
How many followers?
How many followers? On Twitter right now, I have 32K.
Nice.
Very nice. And got to tell you, they are vocal because Howard Dean pissed off some of my followers, and they are going at him. A lot of people. But Howard Dean's tweeting at the, please save me Twitter. What is it? What's that tweet at something? Support? Please save me Twitter.
Did he really?
He did.
He tweeted out. I retweeted something of his. I don't like purposefully antagonizing.
No,
most
I don't.
politicians.
No, I just tweet at him once. I don't do that, or I don't. And I don't encourage anybody to harass anybody online. That is the last thing I do. Believe me, I don't do that. People take it upon themselves because they're citizens. And Howard Dean is a big fat sellout.
Howard Dean tweeted, sorry to disappoint. I think about supporting Hillary. Fed up with Bernie supporting cyber bullies and negative campaign tactics against HRC, who I like and respect.
Johnny, where is the
negative
evidence?
Campaign tactics.
Where's the evidence?
They're in an election against each other. They're both supporting negative campaign tactics against the other.
B.
Where's the cyber bullying evidence?
Cyber bully.
Yeah, Bernie's like he's sending mean DMs to people.
So this woman tweeted at me today saying, the Bernie bros say they're not going to support Hillary, so you'll have blood on your hands when Donald Trump, right? And so my thing is like, hey, wait a minute. The Bernie bros aren't going to vote for Hillary, so why don't you guys get behind Bernie? Because if you don't, that means that Donald Trump says, who's going to vote? It only works one way, though.
Yeah,
it only works the one way. The Bernie people are supposed to drop what they like in favor of a corporate tool who's actually part of the problem. So they don't. That's the problem. I don't understand. The world is passing them by. Right? We see through this now. There is a thing called the internet. Why do people get their news from YouTube? Because we're not corporate bought. We can tell them the truth, and people see what's happening. People are tired of an economic system where you have to sit there for a trickle. May I have a trickle, sir? A trickle of your wealth. Trickle it down, sir, please. Thank you, sir, for a trickle. May I have another? People are tired of that shit. Right?
Yeah.
And people see through it. People know that we have a booming Wall Street. Wall Street came back hard, and there was no bailout from Main Street.